The Atlantic wind carved through the morning mist as a silver sedan smoothly pulled up to the main entry gate of Naval Support Base Sentinel Harbor. As the humming floodlights illuminated the scene, they caught a glimpse of the pale blue in the woman's eyes when she stepped out. She adjusted the strap of a heavy duffel bag resting on her shoulder. Her attire was deliberately unremarkable. Simple jeans, a worn navy blue hooded sweatshirt, and boots that bore the scuff marks of many long journeys. There was nothing in her appearance that suggested officialdom or might draw a second glance. The security guard seated inside the booth did not bother to stand. He took her identification, gave the name a cursory scan, and motioned her through with a dismissive wave. Behind his station, two Marines leaned against the concrete barrier, focused on sipping their coffee and exchanging jokes. "Another transfer from logistics," one quipped with a slight smirk. "Hope she can file faster than the last one." Their laughter faded behind her as she proceeded onto the base, the wind whipping strands of hair across her face. She offered no response, not even turning to look back, merely continuing her pace. Her eyes, however, methodically absorbed every detail, like a person conducting an exhaustive inventory of a domain they already understood intimately. No one among the base personnel was privy to the reality of the situation. This new girl was, in fact, no mere clerk. She was Captain Sarah Mitchell, the newly appointed commanding officer of Sentinel Harbor. While Sarah Mitchell had spent more than half her life in uniform, that morning she entered the installation resembling nothing more than an exhausted civilian traveler. The duffel she carried contained less than a quarter of the honors she had accumulated over the years. The remainder, medals, commendations, and brass plaques engraved with her name, remained secured in a small box back in Virginia. Captain Sarah Mitchell stood out as one of the youngest commanding officers in Air Force history. She was the pilot credited with completing 87 combat missions over hostile airspace, notably bringing every single one of her wingmen back home safely. She was the tactician whose split-second decisions frequently transformed potential disasters into unheralded victories that never made the news. While senior officers recognized her call sign, and young pilots spoke of her like a legend forged from clouds and steel, none of that illustrious history was noted on the plain plastic identification badge clipped to her navy hoodie. The badge simply stated, "Administrative Transfer." She had personally selected those two words for her badge. The sedan that had brought her vanished down the main road, leaving Sarah to walk alone along the sidewalk, keeping close to the chain-link fence. The sea air carried the distant, deep roar of jet engines operating on the flight line. She passed a knot of junior airmen gathered around a designated smoking area. One of them briefly looked up, saw no uniform, and immediately looked straight through her. "Good," she reflected. "That is precisely the response I require." The headquarters building loomed ahead, a square gray structure with glass doors that failed to gleam. Inside, the lobby was a low hum of phones, printers, and the dull throb of fluorescent lighting. A television in the corner played a neglected training video. Sarah approached the reception desk and smoothly presented her orders. The airman behind the computer, whose name tag identified him as Collins, appeared barely 20. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and an energy drink rested beside his elbow next to a stack of forms that seemed older than he was. "Ma'am?" he asked, his finger still busy typing. "Transfer from Virginia," Sarah stated softly. "Administrative support. Reporting as ordered." "Right," he mumbled, quickly skimming the documents without genuine attention. Her critical details, the captain rank, the command authority, and the classification codes had all been carefully removed before her departure. What remained looked entirely routine. A mid-grade officer no one knew. Collins clicked through a few screens. then picked up the phone. "Yeah, Brennan's office. Got your new transfer down here. Badge processed. You want me to send her up? Cool." He hung up, slid her a base access card, and gestured with his chin toward the elevator. "Third floor, flight scheduling office. Major Tom Brennan. End of the corridor." "Thank you," Sarah replied. He was already answering another line as she turned away. The elevator creaked upward. Sarah observed her reflection in the dull metal doors. No insignia, no rank on her shoulders. Just the quiet countenance of a woman in her late 30s who had spent countless nights in instrument-lit cockpits, listening to crackling radios, always waiting to hear whose voice wouldn't return. The doors opened onto the third floor, revealing a long corridor lined with corkboards covered in outdated flyers, one announcing a safety briefing postponed 4 times, another promoting a resilience program nobody could recall attending. She knocked on the last door. "Come in," a tired voice called. Major Tom Brennan sat behind a desk, practically submerged in paperwork. Stacks of files leaned precariously next to a mug of cold coffee. His uniform was neat, his ribbons aligned, but the sheer exhaustion in his eyes told the true story. He glanced at her orders with minimal interest. "Mitchell," he said aloud. "All right. Welcome to Sentinel Harbor. You'll be working flight scheduling. We need bodies more than I need excuses. Lieutenant Amy Chen will show you the system." "Yes, sir," Sarah replied. "You familiar with the new scheduling software?" he asked, still not quite looking at her. "I have some experience," she said. "Good," he muttered. "It's a disaster. We're weeks behind. The flight line is furious. Maintenance is half crippled. Command is breathing down my neck about readiness. You can start by not quitting in the first week." A faint smile touched Sarah's lips. "I don't quit easily, sir." This time he looked directly at her, and for a fleeting second, a flicker of curiosity crossed his face before it vanished. "Chen is at desk 4, he concluded. "She'll show you the rest." Sarah gave a crisp, small, and anonymous nod, just enough to fit the role she had chosen. The flight scheduling office was best described as chaos wrapped in regulation. Rows of desks were occupied by specialists and clerks, all wearing the same expression of controlled overwhelm. Monitors glowed with dizzying displays of flight rosters and maintenance logs, while phones blinked incessantly with calls perpetually on hold. Boxes of unfiled reports were stacked against the walls like sandbags attempting to hold back a flood. Lieutenant Amy Chen looked up from her screen, her eyes bright but visibly fatigued. "You must be Mitchell. Welcome to the nightmare." She waved toward an empty workspace. "That's yours. Log in with this guest account. We'll get you proper credentials eventually." From across the room, Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb leaned back in his chair and grinned. "Hope she types faster than the last one, ma'am. Or at least doesn't cry in the bathroom on day 2. A few nearby airmen chuckled. Chen shot Webb a warning look, but remained silent. Sarah did not flinch. She had heard far worse insults hurled across flight decks during live combat operations. She set her duffel down, slid into the seat, and let her fingers settle on the keyboard. The screen filled with schedules, maintenance windows, and pilot rosters, each entry representing a unit waiting for something critical to do their job. She quietly began to work. Sarah worked without complaint, observing the dynamics of the office. She noted Major Brendan's movements, barking orders that addressed symptoms, but never solved core problems. She watched Webb mutter curses whenever schedules conflicted, and saw Chen rub her temples every time a new change order came down from command. Outside the windows, fighter jets were lined up on the tarmac, some undergoing repairs, some waiting for fuel, and others simply idle for reasons no one seemed to understand. Delayed maintenance and deferred inspections were all symptoms of the same profound issue. The base had not collapsed into overt chaos. It had subtly slipped into something far worse: complacency. Schedules delayed until late had become the accepted normal. Aircraft were grounded until nobody truly expected them to fly. Leadership had become so numb that they ceased noticing the standards had vanished entirely. Sarah saw it reflected in the weary sighs before people answered the phone, and the way they joked about the broken system as if it were unchangeable weather. Nobody looked at the posters about excellence and readiness anymore. Sarah had witnessed genuine combat. She carried the quiet weight of ghosts, young faces that had disappeared from the roster after a single failed mission, and the hard decisions she made that sent others into danger, praying her calculations were correct. Here, none of that was visible. To them, she was merely another clerk at a cluttered desk, just another warm body assigned to a problem too immense to name. For now, Sarah preferred this anonymity. By the end of her first week, she had quietly constructed a comprehensive map of the base's failures. This mental inventory included the scheduling system that arbitrarily deleted entries, the maintenance logs that failed to sync with the flight rosters, and the fuel delivery schedule that mistakenly assumed aircraft would be where they were not. Every single flaw was meticulously noted, yet never uttered aloud. One afternoon, she noticed something that caused her stomach to clench. 3 F-35s were scheduled to execute a critical training mission on the very day they were due for mandatory engine inspections. Both events were flagged as high priority, making simultaneous completion an impossibility. She formally flagged the conflict within the system. Within the hour, Chen appeared at her desk, a frown etched on her face. "Mitchell, did you mark this conflict?" "Yes, ma'am," Sarah said calmly. "Those aircraft cannot fly and undergo inspection at the same time." Chen stared at the screen. "How did you even spot this? It's buried across 3 separate databases." Sarah simply shrugged. "I read carefully." Chen exhaled slowly. "Okay, good catch. I'll escalate it." She paused, studying Sarah. "You've done scheduling before, haven't you?" "A little," Sarah replied. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she walked the flight line. Security lights flickered on, casting long, sharp shadows across the tarmac. She paused near Hangar 6, where Technical Sergeant Luis Rodriguez was overseeing maintenance on an F-35. "Evening, ma'am," Rodriguez called out. "You lost?" "Just looking around," Sarah replied, stepping closer. She studied the open engine bay, the exposed turbine blades, and the diagnostic equipment scattered nearby. "Pratt & Whitney F-135, right?" Rodriguez blinked. "Yeah. You know engines a little?" "A little," she echoed her earlier answer. "What's the problem?" He wiped his hands on a rag. "Pressure sensors giving weird readings. Could be faulty. Could be something deeper. We won't know until we tear it apart, but we're not scheduled for a full teardown for another 2 weeks." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "And in the meantime?" "In the meantime, we fly it and hope nothing goes wrong." His voice was tinged with bitterness. "Same as always." She nodded slowly. "What if I told you that sensor failure might be tied to the vibration dampener alignment?" Rodriguez froze. "How would you know that?" Sarah met his gaze. "Just a guess. But if I were you, I'd check it before you fly." She walked away before he could press her for more questions. Behind her, she heard him urgently calling his team over. Word began to spread slowly through the base community. At first, it was whispered that the new girl in scheduling knew things she shouldn't know. She was catching errors that no one else had spotted. She was asking pointed questions that made people increasingly uncomfortable. The underlying question on everyone's mind was, who was she really? It all culminated with a weather alert. On a Friday afternoon at 1400 hours, a tropical storm was confirmed to be moving faster than predicted, bearing down on the coast. Command issued an urgent order. Evacuate 12 fighter jets before 1800 hours, moving them inland to Oceana Air Base before the storm made flight impossible. This should have been simple, routine. Except nothing at Sentinel Harbor was simple anymore. The flight scheduling office immediately erupted into a state of controlled panic. Major Brennan stood at the main console, shouting into his headset, "I need status on all available aircraft now." Screens flickered with conflicting data. Some jets showed ready, others displayed maintenance flags, and still others had no status at all. The very system meant to track everything was visibly failing in real time. "Maintenance says 6 are down for inspections," Chen called out. "But Flight Ops says we have 8 mission ready." "Which is it?" Brennan snapped. Nobody had an answer. Outside, the sky was rapidly darkening. Wind rattled the windows, and the first heavy raindrops struck the glass like warning shots. Colonel James Hartwell, the base commander, strode into the room. "Report, Major." Brennan's face was pale. "Sir, we're trying to sort the aircraft status, but the system—" "I don't care about the system," Hartwell interrupted, his voice sharp. "I care about 12 jets sitting on the tarmac when a storm hits. If we lose those aircraft, this base is finished. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." "Then get them in the air." Brennan turned back to his screens, his hands visibly shaking. He was paralyzed. The data was wrong. The schedules were wrong. Everything was compromised. He had no idea where to even begin. Sarah stood up from her desk in the corner. Her voice sliced through the cacophony, calm and distinctly clear. "Sir, give me 30 minutes." Every head in the room immediately turned. Hartwell's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" "Someone who can fix this," Sarah stated simply. She did not wait for permission. She walked directly to the main console and sat down. Her fingers flew across the keyboard with astonishing speed. Brennan stepped back, stunned and uncertain. Chen watched, wide-eyed. Ignoring them all, Sarah simultaneously opened 3 distinct databases, then cross-referenced maintenance logs with fuel records and checked pilot availability against flight hours. Within 5 minutes, she had isolated the 12 aircraft that were genuinely flight-ready. Within 10, she had assigned pilots and plotted viable routes. Sarah picked up the radio handset. "Rodriguez, this is Mitchell. I need confirmation on tail numbers 401, 403, 417. Status check now." Rodriguez's voice crackled back. "Mitchell, since when do you—" "Since right now, Sergeant. Status, please." There was a brief pause, then professionally. 401 ready. 403 ready. 417 has a fuel pump issue. Copy. Scratch 417. Substitute with 422. 422 is mission ready. Confirmed. Sarah continued down the list, rapid fire, verifying every detail. When she finished, she pulled a crisp flight schedule from the printer. It detailed 4 waves of 3 aircraft each, staggered takeoffs every 15 minutes, all guaranteed to land at Oceana before the storm closed in. She handed the schedule to Colonel Hartwell. He stared at it. "Perfect. Every detail accounted for. How did you—" Sarah reached into her pocket and produced a folded document, which she placed on the console. Hartwell unfolded it. His face immediately went white. It was her real orders. "Captain Sarah Mitchell, United States Air Force Commanding Officer, Naval Support Base, Sentinel Harbor. Assignment: Covert Operational Assessment." "Jesus Christ," Brennan whispered. Sarah stood up. Her voice was steady, underpinned by a sharp edge of steel. I was sent here by the Pentagon to assess this base's operational readiness, not through paperwork, but through reality. And what I found was a system collapsing under its own weight. She gestured toward the newly printed schedule. But right now, we have 12 aircraft to move. Explanations come later. Hartwell swallowed hard. Captain, I didn't know. That's the point, Colonel. Sarah turned to face the room. Everyone, listen up. We have 2 hours. I need every person in this room focused. Webb, coordinate with the tower. Chen, verify pilot rosters. Brennan, you're on fuel status. Move. They galvanized into action. For the next 90 minutes, Sarah orchestrated the operation like a seasoned conductor leading an orchestra. Every order precise, every decision instant. The first wave launched at 15:30, the second at 15:45, and the third and fourth followed in perfect sequence. At 17:42, the last F-35 lifted off into the darkening skies. 3 minutes later, the storm hit with full force. Rain lashed the windows, and wind howled across the empty tarmac. But every aircraft was safe. The room erupted in cheers. Sarah stood quietly at the console, watching the radar tracks move inland. When she turned around, every person in the room was staring at her, not with fear, but with respect. Hartwell stepped forward and offered a crisp salute. Captain Mitchell, thank you. Sarah returned the salute. We're not done yet, Colonel. Now we talk about how to make sure this never happens again. The meeting room was packed. Every department head, every senior NCO, and every officer who had spent the last months watching the base crumble sat around the long table. At the head sat Captain Sarah Mitchell, now in full uniform, her captain's bars gleaming on her shoulders. The murmurs died when she stood. I know what you're thinking, she began. You're wondering if my report will end careers, if heads will roll, if this base will be shut down. She paused. The answer is no, because the problem here isn't people. It's systems. She pulled up a presentation on the screen behind her. Charts, data, and timelines. I spent 2 weeks observing this base. I saw outdated software that deletes critical entries. I saw maintenance schedules that don't communicate with flight ops. I saw fuel deliveries that assume aircraft will magically be where they're needed. And I saw people, good people, drowning in a system designed to fail. Major Brennan shifted uncomfortably. Ma'am, we tried to fix it, but higher command didn't know, Sarah interrupted gently. Because nobody told them the truth. And nobody told them because you all thought complaining wouldn't change anything. She looked around the room. That ends today. She then outlined her strategy. 5 core reforms. These included new scheduling software with real-time integration, mandatory cross-department communication protocols, authority pushed down to the non-commissioned officers, NCOs, who truly understood the daily work, regular inspections with fully transparent reporting, and most importantly, fostering a culture where problems were solved, not hidden. This won't be easy, she stated. It will require honesty. It will require admitting when we don't know something. And it will require trusting each other again. Colonel Hartwell cleared his throat. Captain, you have our full cooperation. Sarah offered a smile. I know, sir, because I've already seen what you're capable of when the pressure is on. Over the course of the next 3 months, Sentinel Harbor underwent a profound transformation. The new integrated scheduling system went live. It was clunky at first, but improved daily. Rodriguez spearheaded a team that completely overhauled maintenance protocols, successfully reducing aircraft downtime by 40%. Webb, humbled by the recent events and newly motivated, created a training program that soon became a model for other bases in the fleet. Chen was promoted to captain and took command of flight operations. Her first act was to hang a sign in the scheduling office that read, "If it's broken, fix it. If you can't fix it, say so. Silence is not strength." The crooked logistics officer who had been quietly siphoning supplies was discreetly investigated, court-martialed, and removed. When the news broke, there was no celebration, only a sense of relief. The rot was gone. One evening, Sarah walked the flight line as the sun set over the Atlantic. The tarmac gleamed, every aircraft was in its designated place, and every system was functioning. The distinct sound of jet engines warming up for night training missions filled the air. Technical Sergeant Rodriguez approached, wiping his hands. "Captain, got a minute?" "Always, Rodriguez." "I just wanted to say thank you," he offered, "for seeing us, for believing we were worth fixing." Sarah shook her head gently. "You were never broken, Sergeant. You were just drowning. All I did was throw you a line." He saluted, and she returned it. As she headed back toward headquarters, she considered the call she had received that morning. New orders. Another base, another operational assessment, another group of dedicated people who had forgotten what they were truly capable of achieving. She smiled, realizing this was her true purpose. She did not command from a distance. She first lived among her people. She witnessed their struggles, earned their trust, and then, when the critical moment arrived, she led them to success. Leadership, Sarah had learned long ago, was not defined by rank. It was not dictated by formal authority. It was, fundamentally, about showing up, seeing the situation with absolute clarity, and fiercely refusing to let good people fail when you possessed the power to help them succeed. As she entered the building, the lights of Sentinel Harbor shone brightly behind her. A base reborn, achieved not through punishment or fear, but through the potent combination of honesty and respect. Sometimes, the strongest leaders are the ones who choose to serve in silence first, and then command with genuine honor.